Been a long time, but here we are. Bring the music. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another solo edition. Oh boy, I'm rusty here. Welcome to another solo edition to the Rated G podcast. Also, welcome to the first episode of 2024. I am your host, G. Terado. And for those of you who are new here, welcome to the show. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back and thank you for your continued support. This is a podcast where I like to sit down with other fellow artists and creatives, and we talk about just art, creativity, and other aspects of life. And while doing so, we just engage on in-depth conversations, and we try to promote each other's craft, whether it's a business or just an endeavor, whatever, a small business, all that good jazz. And yeah, so if you enjoy that type of content, please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, ring the notification bell. That way you can keep up with the new uploads. You can find our social media links in the description below. But yeah, here we are. It's been a while. It took quite a long hiatus. Um, so much to catch up on, I feel like. Or maybe not. I don't know. So, all right. If you're just listening, you can't see, but for the viewers watching, or they got this thing playing off of YouTube in the background, I do have a different, as you can see behind me, things look different. Things look empty. But that is because your boy finally moved into the new house. Um, and yeah, things are moving along here. It's funny. I Last year I ended with an episode with my good friend Lena Solga, and uh I'm pretty sure I recorded another solo episode, but maybe I just canned it. But I feel like I did one more recording and I just never used it or put it out. So um I don't remember where I left off with you guys, as far as like what was going on in the background. Um but yeah, we've been living in this house for what since like mid-December, towards the end of December. No, yeah, I think mid-December. We've been living here, and yeah, man, what a process. What a process. Um Man, I'm super rusty right now because it's been I think I don't when did I post the last episode? But maybe in November. Yeah, it was like around November, Thanksgiving time. So, I mean, it's only been like a couple months, but I always I always forget. Like just that amount of time off. It's like, whew, I gotta really warm up to this. So I apologize if this is like a lackluster of an episode because I'm just like, what are we gonna talk about? But I always do this. Like when every time I do a hiatus, because I do always take a hiatus around the winter time. But I always feel like if I'm gonna warm up, like I just gotta do my warm up episode should just be a solo episode. Just to yeah. And I don't know. I got to work on not losing my train of thought and not going off on tangents and rants and stuff. So I do, I feel like people think I don't, especially when I have guests on, that I don't have notes. And I've said it plenty of times, but I'm gonna say it again. I do have notes. I have key points on like what's been on my mind as of late. Um, it ends up turning into a long ass list, but then I just chop away the fat and just really stick with like what's the most current, what's the most what's the biggest one that's really occupying my mind. And but anywho, um so lot we're gonna do some catching up here. Um so new house, uh a lot of adjusting, having two separate workspaces now. This is the official podcast studio, and my art studio is actually this is all located in the basement of the house, and my art studio is on the other corner of the house, um, which I'm slowly warming up to. It's been tough because the last two has it been 2 weeks yet? We've been dealing without any heat. So um I mean we had some heat for a bit, but it wasn't working properly. And then we had the guy from HVAC come in, check it out. And then after his visit, our heat was completely gone. So like we have parts that were getting replaced. So yeah, since that visit, we had no heat, and it was just quite unbearable to really do any work. I just been spending that time trying to stay warm, and would take like these little like hibernation naps. But then now we got a couple of space heaters. And oddly enough, the last few days, the heat, oh, I can't even say the heat, but the house has been staying warmer than how it was before. Because before it was like in the 50s, right? It was like in the 50s, and it was cold. So cold that when you step outside where it's like 30, 40-degree weather, it actually feels warmer outside. um so now that's been tough, but now I'm slowly getting my groove on, getting some sketching done. I'm putting some work in my current sketchbook. Strathmore Strathmore uh tan toned paper. Yeah. Uh and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So other than the heat, uh we do have a new security system, which has been fun because now we got cameras, so I'm always like every time we get the alerts, uh, I'm always like checking out what's going, especially like during the night. Uh, so that's fun. It's fun when visitors come over and you just see them on the doorstep. Yeah. So that's been fun. And also like when we unlock our security system, it always takes a photo. So you can actually go browse through all the photos it takes of like I guess like every attempt or just every time we put put in our secret code. And so that's fun just going through that. But yeah. What else? Um unfortunately, actually, we did have a loss in the family. My sweet boy, Siler, is no longer with us. Um, which is yeah, that was a hard pill to swallow because I've had him for like his whole life practically. We got him at I think 4 months, I want to say. You know, this was in the last couple of years of college. So I really grew up with him and he passed away around 15 years and it was tough. Um, like we knew something was wrong with him and it wasn't gonna get better. Um, he had like a type of a tumor, which was like cancerous. And yeah, all we were able to do is just keep him comfy and happy. So we just did that. But yeah, that was tough, but especially when when he's always been around. Like even during the podcasts, he would be in the office with me just sleeping on the day bed. So it almost felt like like I kind of had like an audience with me, even though, it was a cat. So I'm used to just having him around all at all times when I'm working, and and I guess that was like part of the adjustment with the art studio is, he's not there. I mean, we have like one of those ceramic paw prints. It's in this like nice little like shadow box frame. So I got that in my workspace. So you know, I know he's there with me in spirit and, especially when I'm working on stuff. But yeah, it was rough. Um, it was rough. But, he lives on in our memories. He lives on in the podcast. He was in the background. I think like the last couple episodes before this one. But he lives in our hearts. And he lives in one of my paintings. So I posted about this on social media that, just kind of like letting people know, especially those that bought a print of that painting. I'm like, you have like part of my family in there. So yeah. Um, so that was rough. But to kind of bring this back on the more brighter side, we did have an addition to the family. So, it's just like one of those, it's like the balance thing. Um, so actually the day of when we had HVAC come and visit, check out our heat system, we had my homie Mary Twist. She's been on the episode before. She um she dropped off one of these feral cats at her job, and she's a few years old. It's a black cat, female. I just said she. Um, she's adorable. She's super sweet. She has this really faint like voice. Like when she meows, it's like meow. Or not even like that loud. It's just like it's so like whispery. It's so adorable. She actually reminds me of our late Sanchez. He was the oldest cat in our little family. Um and and that she was very, he was very affectionate. So So she's the same way. But yeah, her meows remind me of Rose in Titanic when like at towards the end when they're out and on the water and she notices there's like a rescue boat going around. She's like, and she like lost her voice because that shit's like all frozen. That's what our cat her name is Stella. So that's what Stella sounds like. Um but yeah, she's a sweet little thing. We're trying to get her more comfortable around the house. Like her and Loki, um they're still warming up to each other. I think they had their first scuffle last night because they I don't know what happened, but I did hear Stella uh and they must have just got too close. Too close, man. So someone had to learn a lesson. Um, but I know they're both like they're kind of hesitant and sort of like a little uh they're not scared per se, but they do avoid each other when they can. So, we kept her separated in our spare room for a little bit, which was practically Loki's bedroom. Anytime he wasn't sleeping with us or like hanging out around the house, he was taking naps on the day bed. But then we had to give it to Stella, and then now Stella thinks that's like the safe house for her. That's like her safe space. She like goes in between the our double um our day bed because it's like a double thingy. So she'll always like go crawl in between the mattresses. Um so yeah, she's slow. I guess because she's used to being a stray, right? So she's adjusting to being inside a house. And I also think uh from being a stray that she's used to just being active at night. So we got her a bell on her collar. So at night I just hear that bell ringing a bunch of times. I actually called her once in this office uh in the middle of the night. And yeah. Um yeah, she likes to venture out at night. But so yeah, the the January I was on survivor mode for January. So, happy new year. We made it. And if you made it through January unscathed, congratulations. I sure did not. Like I survived, but it definitely got banged up a little bit. It was certainly an emotional roller coaster. Aside from what I was just talking about before, but definitely going through some other things. Um, but I'm not gonna get into that. I'll get into it later. But yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it. Um, I'm just kind of taking it day by day. I have my first market event coming up. So, um, fingers crossed, I will just do well, make some sales. I'm not expecting anything too big. What I like about this organization is that all you have to do is just make a donation to um whichever organization that they want to fund, and that's it. And it's a small donation, and it's a sliding scale too. So um yeah, so unless I buy prints and buy things for the event, that I would have to make those expenses back, but not much is gonna be spent if at all. So fingers crossed it goes well. I'm trying to bring back event commissions for these pop-up markets. So um I hope yeah, I hope people become interested. Um, but what else? So yeah, nah, other than that, anyway, about 20 minutes in. So I do have some personal goals, right? I guess ideally this is something you would discuss on a podcast prior to New Year's, but we're gonna get into it anyway because I'm late. But there just because of what's happened lately. Um, I've been focusing on some inner inner work. Um, we always talk about just wanting to be a better version of ourselves. So I'm really that's what I'm kind of honing in on. But there are going to be some sacrifices that need to be made. Because I've realized like just how I've been sort of behaving, I guess. Um, and just like my outlook has been kind of like, yeah, I'm on social media a lot, so I've been trying to like decrease the amount of social media intake I have. Um, I really just want to have like a healthy relationship with social media. Um, but yeah, I think that there's just going to be some things that there's going to be a lot of stuff I'm going to have to go back into like cuz like on here I've talked about it several times about personal goals and like affirmations and all that stuff. Um and sometimes I find myself like kind of going back to that place of reworking some things, kind of like taking, taking out the bugs and like tinkering around and like just, you know, fixing some errors. But yeah, I finally, I'm finally accepting my social life, the state of it. That was one of the things I talked about uh very often on here, especially when I'm by myself, but I've talked about it with guests. And I was just at first I wanted to find a community where I can feel accepted and and help get my brand out there, right? And then um and things had been working out, but I think I don't know, I was still searching for something. Um I wanted to go past the casual friendships with some of my peers. Um because I always felt like I needed to be social, right? And I needed to have like active friendships. I think this is just because how I used to be, right? Before COVID, like not that I was seeing everybody every day or every weekend, but like eh, I guess I felt like I had more actual active friendships than casual friendships. I don't know. It's still complicated. Um, but I'm starting to realize like I don't need that. Like as time goes on, I'm actually okay. For some reason, I just always I programmed myself to believe that I needed to like be around people a lot, which like I do to an extent, but like not in a way I was really taking it. I still want to be around people because I'm a social butterfly. So I like to flap my wings. But like just that feeling of needing it. I really felt I needed it, but I don't. Um there are a lot of things that I need to do on my own. Um, and some things I really need to be aware, right? Because the podcast, uh, like if you've been tuning in on I don't know, if you have been tuning in and there have been moments where it's like edgy, like I'll say this when I have my boy Nick Makoviak on, it gets edgy. It gets what we say spicy. And um which he's gonna be on soon. He's gonna be back soon. But yeah, we get spicy. And I'm really trying to work on my discretion. Am I using that right? Uh I just gotta be a little more mindful about how I phrase things. Um, and I'm gonna have to really keep some certain opinions to myself and not be as public about certain sensitive topics. It's tricky, but I'm working on it. But so there's gonna be some like boundaries I feel like that need to be built or rebuilt. And yeah, and just take it slowly. Like this shit does not happen easily. So that's something like I'm constantly reminding myself is like I just gotta be and try to be better. Be better at being. No, so yeah, reaffirming my boundaries. Also I was talking about social media. I just gotta yeah, I'm trying to spend less time on it when I'm on I feel like I know I said this so many times, but at least when I'm on it, I really try to keep it business oriented, but there are times where, if I'm like on a break, right? Break from drawing or editing, I'll watch reels on my personal account. Um so I'm not gonna say there aren't times where I'm not just fucking uh death scrolling on the reels, but but yeah, I'm just being more aware and mindful about how productive I am with it. I still keep my phone off me overnight. Like I keep it charging in the living room when I'm sleeping, and I'm just trying to do more things without my phone like on hand or on my person. Like if I'm just doing chores and stuff, like I I just keep it in the living room charging or whatever. Um and that's the thing because I'm trying to kind of get uh more comfortable with silence. Silence used to be one of my biggest fears. And I think that's why, it's part of why I'm in speech. I'm always like, like all those filler words instead of just like having silence. So I'm working on that, being more comfortable with silence. I even like looked it up, like the benefits of silence, and I think I agree with what they said. I don't remember everything, but it does like help promote more creativity. It really benefits your mind, and I do agree with what with some of the stuff I saw in there because I notice when I'm working in at my studio desk, drawing, inking, painting, whatever, there are moments where if I'm listening to something or if I'm watching something or have something playing in the background and it goes through its runtime and it's just quiet. Like sometimes I find myself, working like 20 minutes a half hour, and I'm like, oh shit, like I never put the next thing on, you know. And yeah, like in silence, or at least in my experience, when I do find myself working in silence, like that is like I'm when I'm able to identify what's happening, that's like I'm coming out of the hyper focus, like the zone. And I think it's like a deeper hyper focus when it's done in silence. I, that's just me though. So, if you agree, you can sound off in the comments. Let me know if that's something you resonate with that. But that's just how it is for me that I've noticed. Um, so yeah, just getting used to silence. Also, like, cause like, I always try to fill the air with something. So if I am gonna try to listen to something, I'm trying to, you know, also be mindful of like the type of content I'm consuming. So that also includes podcasts. I'm trying to cut down on my podcast intake as well, and just make sure it's something that's like um that maybe focuses more on the craft. So if it's a comedy podcast, like I love We Might Be Drunk with Sam Morril and Mark Norman, because um they talk about life on the road and gigs, but they also have these segments where they talk about recommendations, film, books, TV, like whatever. And then they talk about pet peeves. Sometimes they talk about some articles, and like it doesn't get too serious. That's the thing. Like sometimes I get trapped in these podcasts that are like they get pretty serious. So um and so like I try to keep it like a handful of podcasts to keep up with, only like when I'm really in my downtime. I might watch some other stuff. Um, but but other than that, like I've been listening to audiobooks again. So I um I re-listened to Awareness by Anthony DeMello. So obviously doing all this like introspective work and all that. Um, I went through Awareness, and now I'm listening to his other book. I don't know if it's actually by him, but it's like about the teachings by him. Um, because like I recognize some of the stuff that I'm hearing. Um, but it's called Stop Fixing Yourself. Uh, I think it is written by him actually. But it's narrated by somebody else. I wish it was narrated by Anthony DeMello, because I like that. Um, Anywho, so that's what I'm listening to now. Before starting that book, I actually listened to a Bruce Lee book. It's called Striking Thoughts: Bruce Lee's Wisdom for Daily Living. So I was just sharing all of his famous quotes and teachings, like, all of his philosophy. Um, and that was narrated by uh John Little, I think his name is. Same guy that narrates for The Warrior Within, which is another great book on Bruce Lee. um so that was great, and like there was a lot of familiar stuff, you know, that I remember from his other books. So yeah, just trying to keep the data I'm, programming into my brain. I'm just trying to make sure it's all like good, healthy, like positive stuff. um, and just like focusing on getting some artwork done. I'm on this like portrait. I don't want to call it a phase, but I'm on this. I'm just been working on portraits, and yeah, just trying to fill up that sketchbook. Um, let's get into some plans and projects. Um, because like now that we got this new house, right? I know I was just talking about not needing to be in the company of others and whatnot. I still want to have um I would like to start a um like whether it's an annual thing or what, but I would like to start some social gatherings with my fellow artists and creatives. I talked to a couple people about doing a drink and draw, and I don't know, like I would love to do it, but maybe because I've become more of a homebody now, not like a home because we have a house, but like I've when I look back, I'm like, yeah, like now that we're getting older, we're definitely homebodies. Um, but so because of that, like I don't go out casually out drinking or anything. So I'm like, maybe it might just be cheaper if we do our own. Like instead of going and buying tickets or whatever, buying a spot for those paint and sip and drink and draws or whatever. I'd rather just host one myself. Make it super casual. Because that's the thing about this awesome space that we have in our basement. Between the two studios, we do have like this huge space that allows to have a split between like a sitting area, call it like another like a communal area, like a living room space, and then a home gym. So we do have like an area in one corner of the house that's designated for working out. Um, so I'm like, hey, when we have our furniture and stuff, like we can, it'll allow space for, drink and draws or whatever it's gonna be. Um, so I would like to do something like that. Um, but oh, also I would like to start doing like live drawings with uh with artists on Instagram maybe. Uh or YouTube, I don't know. Still playing around with the idea, but in general, I would like because before we made the big move, I was trying to keep up with this like weekly live stream, and I was like switching between Instagram and Facebook, and because I had to start packing up and everything, I stopped doing it, and so I kind of want to get back into that and start, yeah, doing some creative live streams with friends. We just have to work out like the time. And I'm an early bird. I'm an early bird, so I'm crashing like, typically like 8:30, like 9:30 the latest. Uh but I'm an early bird, so um that's why. So yeah, I would have to. I know a lot of people have more free time in the evening, so yeah, I'm just putting it out there. That's something I would like to do. Um, so yeah, if you guys are into that, uh, if you're tuning in, shoot me a DM. If you're watching, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your input. And speaking of comments, um, I've received over time I've received some requests on some of my videos, uh, like my art videos, because on my YouTube channel I don't just post the Rated G podcast, but I do post vlogs, at from events. I post yeah, process videos, whether it's drawing, inking, painting. Yeah, so it's been a while. I actually just uploaded um a video. It's a sketchbook tour, and it's like 5.5 minutes, somewhere around there. So yeah, because since last December, I was just posting short clips on my in my channel, and yeah, I don't. I mean, besides the podcast, like I hadn't posted any like art videos in a while, and yeah, and vlogs too. Like when I do vlogs, they're usually during events, and I typically like to do vlogs on like when I'm doing an event for the first time. So that I yeah, yeah, because I try, as a local vendor, you have your list of organizers that you work with annually, every year, throughout the market season. So, um, I wouldn't want the vlogs to be too repetitive. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so I got vlogs on there, art videos. What was I getting at? Oh, so yeah, I've received actually a decent list of requests here on who to draw for for full length videos, because again, with the shorts, it's a lot of sometimes it's cut up real time clips, or it's all like time lapsed. um but I want to create more full length videos, and the list I have so far is Sub Zero, Hellboy. Someone put Ronin, so I'm kind of just guessing like just a generic Ronin warrior. Ninja and Kakashi, and I think Kakashi's a Naruto character, right? I never Forgive me for saying I did not watch the entire Naruto series, but I think there's a Kakashi. I think that's the guy with the one eye and the mask. Anyway, so I got a pretty good list there. Now I'm gonna get into that. What else? So that's like one of my plans that I have for this year. Um, sorry, just going through my notes, guys. Excuse me. Um, so yeah, so in addition to those ideas, those plans, this one is like, this is a must. This has to happen, and that is completing these paintings that I have in the works. Um, I feel like I've talked about it already, but I'll talk about it again. I do have an art exhibit coming up this summer in at the end of July, and it's the Tech Utopia art exhibit. Yeah, art exhibit. Just like my brain just like, I think it farted. Yeah, so it's the Tech Utopia art exhibit, and yeah, I'm really excited because now I get to really showcase all of the paintings together. I was selling prints of a handful of pieces that became popular here in the community. But there was like also other paintings that I've never displayed. So yeah, I'm really excited to have everything together in an exhibition. I have a few in the works, right? So I got one. It's just drawn out. Um, I probably got to go back in there, obviously do some tweaks and get that going along. And I got three new concepts that I'm hoping to get all of this done by July. So I would like if I can crush a painting, like a painting per month, that'd be awesome. That's ideal. But if I'm gonna have a busy market season, it's that's gonna be another tough thing because I aside from my Tech Utopia series, I got a whole bunch of other ideas in terms of like pop art and fan art that I wanna execute as well. So that's another addition. And but going back to Tech Utopia, now this I'm not really aiming to touch on, but I do have I don't know if it's appropriate to call it as a spin-off series of Tech Utopia, but I do want to go on this Seven Deadly Sins route with it. So I have most of the sins uh written out in terms of like the concepts and like sort of visuals, but there's a couple of them that I need to still brainstorm. But yeah, I have all all of these ideas for Tech Utopia. Um, but you know, hopefully I can just finish. I can wrap up four new ones for July. And it's actually going to be at the same art studio, um, the same gallery, Artworks, which is where I've done all of my group exhibits at. So yeah, it's really exciting. Um, what else? Which, by the way, reminds me, I gotta update my address on all my accounts and stuff. Like I hate doing that. So I just remembered I gotta do that. So other than that, uh I'm probably not gonna do this because I know I can feel it already that I feel stretched thin already just talking about it and speaking it out loud. But I wanted to do this fun like alphabet themed portraits uh thing. So like from A to Z, it would be like I saw some yeah, I want to do this because I've seen a couple of people do it and it looks fun, but I know it's gonna require a lot of time management uh and discipline. But yeah, A to Z, whether it's fiction, I don't know, 90s fictional characters or actors or music artists or whatever the category would be. But I just thought that would be fun to do. I don't know if, again, people watching on YouTube, I don't know if that's something you'd be into. I would, I would absolutely make content out of it for each letter. So yeah, I don't know. Please let me know if you think that's something. Yeah, let me know if you think that's something you'd be into. Um, and then I'll just kind of put some ideas out there on what was not style, but like what genre, what category of the thing we're gonna go about. If there's one in mind, again, leave it in the comments. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know when. I guess if I hear I guess if I pitch it to other people and just get some feedback on whether they think it'd be fun. I don't know, or I just fucking buck up and just give it a shot anyway and put it out there. Uh, we'll see. Um, but yeah, that's a lot. I feel it's a lot of projects, man. I'm aiming high. All right. The last thing I want to get into, and I won't spend too much time. I wanted to get into movies because I feel I'm going down this um, rabbit hole of I don't know if I want to call it Asian cinema, but been watching a lot of Asian. like movies, and I'm interested on these new releases and stuff. But actually, before I get into the rabbit hole, I want to talk about a few things that I watched recently. Um, on New Year's Eve, right? Nicole and we watched Godzilla -1, and I was actually surprised that Nicole was down to see it. I didn't think she was gonna want to see it, especially because it's the classic style Godzilla. Like this, Japan made this movie, so they went with the classic version. It's kind of like, by the way, I guess like spoiler alert, because I'm gonna like just rush over some details, but it's kind of like a reboot. And actually, scratch that. I'm not going to spoil anything. All I'm going to say about it is that it was a breath of fresh air. Um, because of the time, the era that is taking place. Like it's taking place after World War II. Takes place in Japan, and um, I guess just because, like, there's you got Holly, not Hollywood, but like woke Hollywood, MCU, like all that drama going on right now with with all the movie films that are like going woke and following the whole DEI thing. Um, so without any of that stuff going on, it just like without any of that affecting this movie at all. Like it was just such an entertaining movie. Um, and I saw somewhere that they're releasing it in black and white in theaters. I don't know if that's happening now or will be happening soon, but I'd be down to go back and watch it. Like I've been considering watching it in theaters again. Um, because it was just like so refreshing. Maybe because we haven't been to the theaters in a while, but uh yeah, it was like a really fun, entertaining movie. There was like some suspense to it. They made him like a bad guy. That's what the refreshing part was, because with all these new movies now, he's the hero. But in this one, he's a motherfucker. He's fucking people up. Um, so yeah, we watched that on the last day of 2023, and I just thought it was like such a good way to end the year off. Um and then uh after that, we watched the Amazon series um Reacher. Uh my phone is listening to me. Um the same character that Tom Cruise plays in his movie Jack Reacher. Um, but this Reacher was starring Alan Ritchson, who is he's been in a bunch of stuff. Um, he was in Smallville, I believe. He was Aquaman. Uh, I know that he was he did like an audition on America's Got Talent, I think, or like one of those shows. Maybe it's American Idol, maybe. Um, but I know he's also in The Wedding Ringer. He voiced Raphael in the Michael Bay and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is so funny to me because like he's always been like muscular and fit and cut, but like he bulked up for Reacher. So at the time voicing Raphael for the Bay movies, he wasn't that bulked up. He was just like slim and fit. And just funny. Like the reason why I'm bringing this up because Raphael in those Bay movies, I mean, all the turtles were big and brolic, but Raphael being the muscle of the group, he was even bigger. And I just think it's funny now that Alan Ritchson, who's now playing Reacher, is like this big bro. Like he could play Raphael now, do the same voice, but just like not even have the CGI because he's fucking big as fuck already. Just throw a half shell on him, some makeup. Like you don't need CGI. Use practical effects for him now. But so yeah, I thought that's just kind of like ironic that he's that big now. Especially for season two. And it's funny, right? Because like I was seeing all this hype about this show, and like it was getting great, like what was it, Rotten Tomatoes scores, and yeah, so I think because that, so it got all the hype because well, I think one of the reasons that without all the woke drama and it it felt also refreshing. So um so yeah, we watched it. We watched both seasons within a week. I was like, damn it. But I heard they're coming back with a third season, so I'm excited. Uh and you know what? I'm curious to watch Tom Cruise's Jack Reacher. I think there's two movies, and I'm curious. I'm curious to see how he portrays them because like seeing how Alan did it, like I can't see any other way. And I know how popular the books are because it's like there's like it's a whole book series. And props to Alan because I guess he has like a nerd side to him. He read all the books, I believe, and a lot of the book fans are confirming that like yeah, like Alan was on point with his performance. So I was like, all right, I fuck with that. That sounds promising. And when I get through this Anthony DeMello book, I'm gonna start listening to the actual Lee Child's book series. So I got the first two downloaded right now, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I think the first one's called Killing Floor. Yep, Killing Floor, and then the second one is called Die Trying. So I'm excited. Um, but so there was that. All right, we got through Reacher, and so if you follow, you can see it on my social media. But like, I have this habit of like, you know, when I do portraits, I just always have this natural habit, this like reaction of like, all right, when I'm like locked in on somebody that I admire, I'm a fan of, whatever, I gotta draw them. And like this happens a lot when I'm with Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan are triggers because anytime I watch a movie or an interview with them, I'm like, oh, I gotta draw them. And uh, funny mentioning Bruce Lee because we're gonna get into that in a little bit, but that happened with Reacher. I loved Alan's performance in that show. I actually do like the actor in general. He's a sweet guy, very honest. When you listen to his interviews, he's just such a like fun, like outgoing guy. He's got a sense of humor. Um, so um, yeah, so after watching Reacher and enjoying the show, I was like, I gotta do a portrait of him. So I did this sick portrait. I'm really proud of it, honestly. Um, so yeah, so that happened. Then we watched Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Now I wanted to watch it. I was out of curiosity. I saw the reviews it had gotten, and I grew up watching Beast Wars, so I just had to see how it played out. I had to see how the Maximals were utilized in the film. Like, how do they push the story and all that? I was just curious about that. Knowing, like, of course I'm gonna enjoy the special effects and the action. Like, I think that's a given. It's always gonna be an entertaining movie when it comes to Transformers, but we got to worry about the story and the other characters, like the human characters in it. Um, so that being said, uh, I wished the Maximals had more screen time. I feel like they weren't on screen enough time, and like this happened with the shit. What's the one of the last Transformers, like the Bay movies, the Knights one, Knights of the Round. I don't know what is it called, Transformers something Knights or whatever. But it featured the Dinobots, and like you don't even see them till like the very end. And like so again, I wish the Maximals had more screen time, especially in robot form. Like you don't like spoiler alert for this one. Like you don't even see them in robot form until like the very end at the grit, like the climax at the big fight scene. And even at that, you don't see it enough times, and it's just like damn, because they looked cool. Especially, it was just like really cool to see him in action, and you only get to see him for like I don't know, collectively, probably not even 10 minutes. Oh man. So I don't know. It was all right. Um, and then they had like a surprise ending. So again, spoiler alert. They're I don't know if it's really gonna happen or not, but the plan with the like at least this current for with this end of the franchise, they're doing a crossover with GI Joes. They did this in the comic books, so obviously it's gonna happen on screen, and they're finally doing it. When I was watching the ending scene, I was like, um, I'm like, oh, Sector 7, and then boop, you see it's GI Joe. I'm like, oh, all right. And I remember before watching the movie, I remember seeing like a headline like mentioning or questioning if we were going to see GI Joes in this movie. Um, so I mean, like, I guess like if I was like a super fan, I'd be like, I would be either overly excited or overly, like I'd be dreading it, you know, the because of the direction that it's going. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about. Yeah, and they had Unicron, and like not that I would expect to see Unicron in robot form, but it just it was a money grab, just a money grab. That's all. Um, and I just thought it was weird that like you're gonna have the Maximals, but not your Predacons. Come on. But it's still kind of cool to see Optimal Optimus. Yeah. Or right? No, not Optimal Optimus. That's not even it. What the hell did I come up with that one? Optimus Primal. Third Optimal Optimus. I mean Optimus Primal. Um, yeah, I don't know. It could have been better. Not the worst thing I've seen, but it definitely could have been better. Um, okay, now let's go back to the rabbit hole thing, right? So after having watched all these, the shows and movies, um, uh, out of curiosity, because again, I kept seeing, I would keep seeing this title on my Netflix, the live action Rurouni Kenshin, and I know how big the anime is. They even did like a reboot anime, which looks pretty good. Um, no, I didn't really get into that when I was little. Um, but I knew how badass the character was. And I've always noticed like there's like in terms of the live action movies, like it's a franchise. Like there's like 6 movies, 5 or 6 movies, And but I never really heard any reviews about it. It's like no backlash, no praise. So I'm like, well, they keep making them, so it's got to be doing well enough. And yeah, I saw some, promising reviews about it, and I saw a couple of clips and whatnot. So I gave it a chance, and I liked what I saw. But there is like the titles for the movies is like it's like out of whack, right? It doesn't sound like it's going in chronological order. So well, which was the case. So I had to look up like the appropriate way to watch these movies. And yeah, all I'm gonna say is that so the first movie, based on like the timeline, um, which is like funny because so there's Rurouni Kenshin, The Beginning, which is uh one of the late like this came out in 2022 or 23. I think 2022. Um, but the actual first release, like the first live action movie they did is called The Origin. And that came out in 2012. And then and then the other ones came out between like the other three or four came out between those years. But it's just like, yeah, you gotta look up the chronological order to watch these movies. So I watched the beginning, which was it was like pretty vulgar, like violent, a lot of blood. It had this like dark tonality to it. Felt very realistic. And then the origin, right? This is the one that came out in 2012. This one felt like more like the poppy, more colorful anime. Like these two movies alone, because this is the only two I saw, are almost kind of polar opposites in terms of tonality and like even visually. Again, like the first movie, it felt it was kind of like darker, like everything was like dark tones. It wasn't a lot of bright colors. And then in the origin, more colors. Everything's a little like the music's different too. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, but I still enjoyed them both equally, you know. Like Origins, it didn't feel like they were cosplaying so much. Um like the characters. Um so yeah, they're different, but I guess like when you're watching them in order, it just I'm sure if I was watching them in the chronological time of like how they were released, I'd probably be like, huh. Well, I kind of like now I kind of, have an idea of how it goes tone wise, visual wise. I guess because you're gonna see more characters and from the anime, so you know. Anyway, so having watched that, um, now I've been more, like I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Um, I don't want it to get taken the wrong way, like, but now I'm just like more open and excited for these new well, I'm more enthusiastic about the Asian, like I'll just say Asian titles, but mostly Japanese. But after watching Rurouni Kenshin, funny enough, Nicole uh this one weekend I was super lazy. I was like taking naps throughout the day, but during my naps, Nicole ended up watching some other Japanese film. I think it was Japanese. Maybe it's Chinese. But it had Joe Taslim, he's in Warrior, he's in The Raid, He's in one of the Fast and Furious movies. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Um, but he was in it, but I can't remember the name. So I was like, oh, that's funny. Like she was just like, because she doesn't generally watch like martial arts films. Like it's usually me that like proposes, these, titles to check out. Plus, like I kind of grew up on stuff like that. Like she's not a big Jackie Chan fan. She never knew Bruce Lee till till we started dating. So um yeah, so then after that, then to get we she and I ended up watching this movie called 13 Assassins, which was a dope ass movie about samurais. Um that was awesome. And then just uh this past Sunday I went out with a buddy that I just started getting to know, and who's also an artist, a very talented artist. Shout out to Noah Ray. Um we went out to go see Enter the Dragon at our local movie theater in the city. And so going back to the Bruce Lee thing, after watching Enter the Dragon, I was like, well, now I want to draw Bruce Lee, which I did. Oh, and another fact, I drew oh, what's his name? I drew Rurouni Kenshin after watching those two movies. I can't remember the actor's name, but his last name is Sato. But yeah, so I did a portrait of Rurouni Kenshin, and then I watched Enter the Dragon. Did a Bruce Lee sketch. I'm surprised I didn't do the main character from 13 Assassins, but believe you me, it was in there somewhere in the dome. I definitely considered it. I might even go back and do it. Uh, so yeah, I'm like definitely going down this rabbit hole of like Asian cinema. Is that fair to say? Because we got Avatar: The Last Airbender Netflix series coming out, which at first very excited, very enthusiastic about it, but then I saw someone do what's her name? Amala. I can't remember her last name off the dome, but she's a YouTube person. But there's some worry about the series being woke. Like there's been some changes for the story that are a little more, I guess, more modern, more more. Uh, yeah. So I'm just curious, because I watched the series. I just watched it recently. I had that shit playing in the background while I was getting stuff done, and I might just rewatch it again. Actually, I don't know. I mean, it's coming out soon in like 2 weeks or less. Anyway, I'm still excited. I'm gonna be very open minded about it, but I'm very curious. Like the word is that the sexism in the cartoon. They're getting rid of the sexism in the storyline for the Netflix version, which is like I hate to admit it, but they're like that sexism in the cartoon, those problems, those things like are they're essential to the character growth for the main cast, the main characters. So like it's unfortunate that this cartoon had sexism in it, but it shows you how the characters grew from dealing with that. The sexism provided these obstacles for these characters to overcome. So it's like it's unfortunate, but like there's like a positive outcome for these characters, and to take that element out of this live action version, I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious how the characters will be introduced, how they link up together, how they develop throughout the show. Who knows? But again, still excited. So from judging by the trailer, just seeing firebending, actually firebending, that's awesome. And also seeing like the little Easter eggs of like the, some of the other characters, um, other known characters that you get to see in the show. Um, so there's that. There is also another Netflix series I'm curious about. I'm actually pretty intrigued after watching the trailer, and it's called House of Ninjas. And um, basically, what it's about is this family of ninjas that leave that livelihood, right, of being a ninja. Like they became a normal family, but then something happens and they kind of have to go back to their ninja ways, right? They have to leave their mundane uh lifestyle and then do their thing and kick some ass, take some names. Um this one's like I believe it's like an all like Japanese production, so it's originally in Japanese. Um and Yeah, I'm curious about it. It looks pretty cool. Again, the trailer was pretty intriguing. Um, it didn't look like it revealed too much because like that's my pet peeve with trailers is like they show so much stuff that it's like, all right, it doesn't leave much to imagination. Um, but I'm gonna give it a shot. This comes out real soon. I think it comes out next week. And then the one last show that I'm also curious about is this new FX series called Shogun. I don't the only big name I recognize is I don't want to butcher his name, but his last name is Sonata. He was in The Last Samurai. He was in Logan. He's the dude you go to when you want to cast a samurai. It's like Hiroyuki Sonata. I'm sure I'm you know butchering it, but he's in it, and yeah, visually it looks good. Um, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what else to really say about it. Um, so yeah, I'm curious. I mean, it's a FX show, so I think I gotta have Hulu if I want to stream it. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Uh, but so here you are. Like the list of Asian films and TV shows. And I feel like it's just gonna keep going. Oh gosh. Um, and that's like the only real things I'm like. So again, like it's like the only titles that I'm actually genuinely um interested in because everything else is just it sounds like bullshit. Like the only other like major title I'm looking forward to that everyone has hopes for is Deadpool 3 because that there's a lot of drama going on with that one. So that's why I'm like that's like the last like Hollywood film I'm looking forward to. Uh Only time will tell, see if they really fix up that final act because I keep just again hearing all the drama about it. Like it's and hearing and like keeping sort of up to date with the stuff has spoiled some of the stuff for me, for the movie. So I'm like, I'd rather be surprised in general, like whether it's a good or bad surprise. I'd rather be surprised rather than just going in the movie, going to the movie theaters with bias. Like, cause I'd like to see this one in theaters, but yeah. So that's it. That's my movie rant, and we're gonna put a ribbon on this one. Real quick, I just want to say, if you've been tuning in, whether you're listening or watching, I appreciate you for joining me. I know my solo podcasts aren't as they don't do as well. as opposed to when I have guests on. And understandably, I get it. It's definitely more entertaining when you got two people um conversating. So yeah, if you've tuned in, thank you so much. And if you haven't already, if you want to see more of this content, just be sure to follow, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. That way, you will surely stay up to date with all the new uploads. Um, and yeah, please leave comments. I'm always open to addressing comments or like answering any questions in the comments section. So yeah, leave questions or comments. Um, and oh, I want to plug in. I actually forgot to mention this earlier. I did start an Instagram account for the podcast, so it's at the Rated G Podcast. I'm uploading not all of the older clips, but started clips starting from episode 100, which is when I started publishing the podcast on YouTube. So I've been, I'm not doing clips from every episode, but from it's still a yeah, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of great clips in there. So I'm just building it up right now. I still got more clips to share on there before we get up to speed with the show. Now that I'm back back on the mic, so yeah, definitely give that a follow. Um, and please share the podcast or just share Art of G Terado with your friends and family, anyone who is an art lover in general. Um, and while I'm at it, I am open for commissions. Okay. Um, that's definitely one of my another one of my goals for this year is to do more commission art for clients. So they make a great gift. They make a great home decor, birthday, anniversary, holiday gift, or you name it. All right, artwork definitely does that for you. Um, so if you are commissioning, if it's their first time clients, they get an automatic 10% discount. Um, so yeah, spread the word. Find me on the social media, and send me a DM for any inquiry. And yeah, let's get after these meaningful quotes now, because that is something I like to do. If you want to call it a segment, I always wrap up the podcast with some meaningful, inspirational quotes. Now, I will say I'm going to share two quotes. They're a bit lengthy, but they've been resonating with me because of what I've been going through. Um, and they are coincidentally, uh, they're both by Anthony DeMello. Um, yeah, I'll say this: the reason why these quotes resonate with me is because, like I said in the beginning, I've been kind of going through. I've been going through some rough times within the Richmond community. I'll say I'm going to try to keep things kind of plain and simple, but yeah, there are certain people out there that are labeling me as a toxic person, uh, and it just sucks because it's resulting me in sort of getting benched from certain market organizations that have certain social guidelines. I'll just say, not that I'm abusing anybody, like I'm not beating up, anybody or anything like that. But let's just say because I don't necessarily go along with the mainstream narrative. people find me a threat, and it's unfortunate that that is how they feel and what they believe about me. But the people that really know me for who I am deep down, they stuck by my side. They've shown their support. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say because I feel like I said too much about it. But so that's why these quotes right here resonate with me. So I hope this is insightful for you, the audience. The first quote goes like this: these things will destroy the human race. Politics without principle, progress without compassion, wealth without work, learning without silence, religion without fearlessness, and worship without awareness. Now, the second quote goes: people mistakenly assume that their thinking is done by their head. It is actually done by the heart, which first dictates the conclusion, then commands the head to provide the reasoning that will defend it. So that is that. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I've got some booking to do. I've had a couple people come up to me about making their first appearance on the podcast. I got some returning names on the list as well. So this should be a fun ride. So I hope you pressed all those buttons to help grow the podcast, my YouTube channel, all that good jazz. And with that, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, stay driven. And I shall catch you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.